Season 8, Episode 13, The Lies will catch up to you, and I was definitely looking forward to this episode. As I said, this second half of the season, now that Damon and Stefan are back to normal, I've really been enjoying so far. I think they've gone some very interesting directions, and I really love this episode, I have to say. I mean, especially after the twist in the last episode, they're really pulling out all the stops to make this as interesting as you know, the final 4 episodes, as interesting as possible, and I'm very happy to see where they're going. Was this episode perfect? No, but I'm not gonna lie, it was definitely one of my favorite episodes of this season. I really enjoyed this episode overall. I thought there was some really great consequence in this episode, and just some really great things that are sticking. That's what I like, is that they're sticking to things, when usually the Vampire Diaries, you know, they tested a plot point and then they abandon it, and they haven't done that once this season, except for maybe Sybil and Celine. That's really been the only instance, but at least that had an end. Last season, they just kind of ended things, and I really don't see them doing that this season. So let's just get in this episode, because I definitely do want to get into it. So we start off 3 days earlier, and we see Matt. He was ringing the Maxwell bell, and it opened the gates of hell long enough for Kai to return, as well as Kate. So now we know how Kai has returned, and you know, as we know, Kai was banished to hell, so he's excited to be back in Mystic Falls. He orders almost all the food on the menu, and I loved seeing Chris Wood back as this character. I forgot how fun and just entertaining he really was in this show, because he really is so entertaining. I mean, yes, Kai is a badass, but he's also extremely entertaining and really funny as well. Like, they really gave him some very funny stuff to do here. He quickly learns he cannot taste or feel anything, which I thought that was actually a cool twist. I like he had that vulnerability, and he uses magic and kills the server, and, you know, even though he has a vulnerability, he is not at all weakened by that. He is still killing people, he's still just as evil, and he's a psychic imprint stuck between dimensions thanks to Hellbell. And Alaric grabs a dagger that Cade made and threatens to kill him for murdering his wife, Jo, because of course he's the one that did that, and Kai tells him he has a better way to kill Cade, but they have to get him completely out of hell before he will reveal it, because obviously he needs to make sure he's out of there. So Alaric draws a dagger to stab him until he says he can bring back Elena, and this gets Damon interested, because what has been the one thing Damon's wanted to do is to find a way to wake up Elena, and obviously he doesn't want to have to kill Bonnie to do that, because the only way to do that, of course, is, you know, if Bonnie dies, Elena wakes up, but it seems that Kai is coming up with a new way to do that, which would make sense. You know, he's the one who could do that. He can come up with a loophole, and Alaric's furious with Damon for keeping Kai around, especially since he tried to kill his kids, and you really do feel that disdain that Alaric has for Kai. You understand why he wants nothing to do with Kai. It's not because the fact that he doesn't want Damon to get Elena back. It's because, you know, Kai's the one who killed Jo, who is Alaric's true love, who he always cared about, who we know for a while he did whatever he could to bring her back. Like, he had a very similar situation to what Bonnie's going through right now, and basically, Damon promises that once he gets what they need, he will send them back to hell in pieces. So, obviously, he does not plan to use Kai for a very long time. Kai is just there to help them out, and then when he's done with him, he will, in fact, send him back. And, again, I like seeing Alaric and Damon back as friends. It's just a dynamic we haven't seen a ton of, you know, so far this season. I'm very happy to see that here. So calls, and again, you gotta feel bad for Bonnie in this episode, because at this point she's in complete seclusion. She's not talking to anyone, she's completely isolated herself. I mean, even her mom isn't there. She really doesn't know what to do, and Matt comes to see Caroline asking for her help because he has been getting calls all morning about old cases of missing people or other crimes, all linked to Stefan, and they're saying their memories are of him being a vampire, and Caroline figures out that basically, apparently when you take the cure, any sort of person that you killed or anyone that you compelled, those memories then come back. And that's crazy to think about. And yeah, you could make the argument that Vampire Diaries has never done this before, because this, of course, is not the first time we've had the cure storyline. We know that Catherine took it, and we know Elena took it, and there was nothing going on with it at the time, which, yeah, that is a flaw. But at this point, I'm fine with it, because literally anything the Vampire Diaries can do to keep things interesting, I'm fine with, because we all know how boring last season was. So I'm glad they're just putting a nice twist in it, finding ways to keep the storyline interesting before I get, you know, lost in it, because the Vampire Diaries has a problem, usually, with keeping things interesting, and this is the perfect way to keep the storyline interesting. I'm very well invested in what's going on here. I think it's actually very interesting, and there's a lot of things you can do with this, actually, because, yeah, Stefan has wronged a lot of people, and this episode really does, you know, showcase that, especially with Dorian, because we find out Dorian, his last name is Dorian Williams, who, if you remember, back in Season 3, Stefan killed an entire family, and it turns out that family was actually Dorian's family. He's the one who kidnapped Stefan, and he forced him to go into the woods by gunpoint, and Basically, he was coming home from a pep rally at the time, and Stefan was there soaked in blood. He had brutally murdered his father and sister and compelled them to forget, and he sat in the police cruiser watching his home burn down, and this is incredible. I love this continuity. This is something the writers rarely ever do. Continuity. I'm shocked. I'm shocked they actually went that far back, but they actually did, and this feels like one of the most well done, plot points we've had here. With Dorian remembering what Stefan did, now he has a reason to go after Stefan. Now he actually has relevance in the show, because I'm not gonna lie, Dorian all season has just kind of felt like a whatever character. He's been, he's worked with Alaric, he's worked with Matt, but who is he really? Now he has an identity. Now he has a reason to be here, and I like really where they go with him here, because Stefan admits he never forgets a victim's name, and he was traveling with Klaus at the time, and Stefan apologizes. Dorian tells him that's not good enough. He orders him to start digging, and obviously he's not just going to let Stefan get away with what he did, which I very much like seeing. So Bonnie's sitting in her room surrounded by candles, begging Enzo to give her a sign that he's there, because she doesn't want to believe that he's gone. And Damon then calls, asking how she is and if she's gotten Enzo out of hell. He reminds her that she isn't a quitter. He knows that she doesn't give up, and that's kind of a problem in this situation, because she should give up. Enzo is not going to come back, and she needs to face that, and even if the Bell will nuke all Mystic Falls, she learns Damon is someone who is halfway in the world and wants to return permanently, and this really gets her to finally wake up. Because immediately when he says that, she starts to realize that it has to be Kai, and he then asks her what if there's a way to unlink her from Elena, but the price is releasing a soul from hell, and Bonnie demands to know who is with him. He says he doesn't want to say, but honestly, Damon, who else could it be? I mean, that's the person who made Elena the way it was. Honestly, if Damon would not have said that part about Elena, Bonnie would probably not have suspected that it was Kai, because who else would have a way to unlink her from Elena? There's no other person who could do that. It had to be Kai. Kai was the one who started the spell in the first place. Who else could have done that? So basically, she informs Damon that before she tapped on Witchcrafter, Grams told her she was psychic, and Bonnie then hangs up after telling Damon she's going to contact Kay to see if he will free Enzo from hell, because obviously she knows he can do that. So Caroline and Matt then speaks to the officer, was compelled by Stefan, saying he lost his job and he fell off the wagon, and Caroline compels him, saying that he will cash the check Stefan sends him and won't ask any questions. So it seems like Caroline is going to fix a lot of this for Stefan, that she's going to do a lot of the compelling for him, because that'll just fix everything. So Matt offers him a job if he wants it. Caroline's trying to keep it together because she's the only one who can really clean up this mess. And you really do feel for Caroline in that scenario, because at this point, Damon could fix things, but that's just going to make things worse. He already has so much grief hanging over him. He doesn't really want to do anything. Stefan's human, so she has to do, that really leads the only person who can do it is, Caroline. She's the only person who can really do that. Alaric obviously can't do it. Matt certainly can't do it. He can't do that sort of thing. Bonnie's too much of a wreck. Caroline's the only one who's left to do this sort of thing, and I really like seeing Caroline being put in this very important position. I mean, this is a position that obviously a lot of people have said, Caroline hasn't really done a ton on this show, but they've really, again, done a great job with her in these last few episodes of really giving her some great stuff to do, and I've really been liking what they've been doing with her here, because she really is trying to clean up the mess that Stefan made. And Stefan then asks Dorian if he has thought this through. He tells Stefan the only worse than all the guilt is surviving murder. And he brings up some very good points that I actually really do agree with. Because he talks about how, when a human commits a mass murder, that's it. They're locked up forever. They don't get to atone for all their sins. Stefan, however, is. And he finds it very unfair that Stefan has to go through such a thing. And Stefan tells him that now he's human. He had no idea what this all felt like. And Dorian cocks the gun, tells him if he had been human the whole time, he should have got the needle. If that happened, he should have just died. But the damage is done, there's no redemption, and he doesn't feel like he can ever forgive him for this. So he asks if he's supposed to move on, knowing he's alive, and Dorian then shoots him. He falls into the hole he just dug, and you can completely understand where Dorian's coming from here. But the minute he shot him, that's where the storyline gets a bit clunky. We'll get into that in a second, but I really did like seeing this hate that Dorian has for Stefan. You can completely understand where he's coming from the scenario. It's one of the most well-done plot points we've had in a while in terms of someone who is getting revenge on Stefan and Damon. And what I really do love about this is that it's from a human. It's not from an immortal. This is from someone who had this horrible tragedy happen to them and was all caused, the perpetrator was Stefan. He was the one who caused all this. He's the one who, caused Dorian all the misery. And even though we've only seen Dorian for a couple episodes, you really do feel from this situation, especially when you realize how far back this really goes. They did a very good job with setting that up, I have to say. I was very impressed by the way that was done. So Damon then takes Kai's phone, telling him that he has in hiatus from social media, and apparently Kai has this Twitter that is apparently active again, and Alaric is not happy that Damon roped Bonnie into this insanity. Alaric also brings the girls to a safe place away from Kai, and at the diner, Kai's nose begins to bleed. He coughs up blood, saying he's quickly falling back to hell, and if he doesn't help him, Damon's shot of happiness will go with him, because obviously there's no one else who can save Elena. So Damon is essentially forced to help him. A waitress then brings Kai more napkins, who joke this is a result from being lactose intolerant, and Damon shares stories about the sirens and working for Cade, and Kai says that it makes sense, that maybe he could get completely out of hell by killing a really evil person, as he calls it, which, yeah, that would make sense. I mean, we know how powerful Cade is, and we know that Kai is pretty much just as powerful. Like, they have very equal balances of power, and if Kai can take down someone who has all this power, and, you know, Cade has a lot of power too, someone's gonna die there. And yeah, Kai definitely, I don't know if he'll be as lucky as he thinks. Honestly, I think they'll probably both die, but I'm interested in seeing where that's going to go. Dan reminds me he's trying to preserve his future with Elena by not killing anyone, and Kai laughs at him, taunts him to pick someone to die. At first, he refuses, but Kai mentions he's doing it for Elena, so he picks the chef who just smacked the waitress's ass, and he actually does end up killing the chef, obviously, because he, again, anything that he says for Elena, Dame will just, you know, he'll do anything for him at this point. He will do anything because he knows that it has to do with saving Elena, and he knows Kai's serious about that. Like, he knows that Kai genuinely will save Elena. Not because Kai wants to, but because that's the only way he'll get through to Damon. He's saving Elena. So, Alaric assures Caroline that the girls are fine. They're at the armory. He offers to bring the girls by the house tonight to see her, and it did feel kind of abrupt to hear him finally talk about the girls again. Like, oh yeah, the girls. Like, it's been such a long time since we heard about Josie and Liz, but again, we're hearing about them again. So she says Mystic Falls may not be safe, but he says he needs some parenting advice while he looks at the twins' coloring and crayons floating in the air above them. And things are not great for the twins. You know, now that they've been exposed to this magic that Selene has taught them, they still are partaking in it. They're still saying insignia, they're still burning people, and it's not really going great for them. I'm not sure, we know obviously that they don't know about Selene anymore, they don't know about Sybil, so I was glad to see that. But the whole magic, the magic is still there, which is very strange to me. I mean, Celine's the one who taught them the magic, so wouldn't you think that they wouldn't have any idea about it? I mean, that just felt kind of out of place. I didn't really understand that, but Stefan tells Dorian he missed anything vital. Dorian tells him to shut up. He points the gun back at Stefan, and then can't go through with it. He puts pressure on the bullet wound, learns that there's no cell reception, and he just can't, you know, he can't get himself to kill Stefan. He just can't do such a thing, and Bonnie then meets with Cade, who says that they are kindred now. She says she doesn't understand any of this, but needs to know how she can get Enzo out of hell. She really feels she can use Cade to her advantage here, and Cade tells her to ask him himself, and he tells her that she has a powerful traumatic awakening like he did, and he shares that if she wants to locate Enzo's soul, she needs to open up her mind and together they may condemn. And even though Bonnie doesn't want to work with the devil, that's essentially kind of the price she has to pay in order to bring Enzo back, which is very interesting to see, and again, a very unexpected direction for Bonnie, but I like the direction they're going here. So Cade tells her to think of Enzo dying needlessly, to think of his dreams and happiness, and he tells her to embrace her rage and anguish as it's the source of her power, and he tells her to call out to Enzo, which she does. She finds him, they kiss each other, but Enzo tells her to stay away from Cade because he's trying to find him through her and bring his soul to hell. While this seems like a good idea, all he's doing is using her as a sacrifice, because we know that Cade needs that sacrifice. He hasn't had that sacrifice yet, and Bonnie might be that sacrifice that he needs. So, obviously, he's really only doing this for his benefit and not Bonnie. So, she asks him if he's not in hell, where he is. All he says is don't trust him. So, you get the sense that Enzo doesn't really know where he is, and she tells Cade she didn't see Enzo, thanked him for his help, and I like that she was able to cover that up. Like, she didn't tell Cade that she actually saw him. So, Caroline continues to compel all of Stefan's past victims with Matt's help, and Dorian then calls Matt saying he kidnapped Stefan and shot him, and they're on their way to save him, and Damon says he doesn't kill for fun anymore. Kai says he will if he wants to reunite with Elena, and Damon then calls Bonnie, who rejects the call, only to find Cade leaning against her car. He says he figured out when Enzo died. She screamed, creating a private dimension only linked to her, and hidden even from him, something that no one else has ever been able to do, which that's, again, very interesting. So Cade grabs her head to read her mind. He learns that Kai's out in the world and informs her if she thinks she can keep secrets from him, she will learn why they truly call him the devil, because obviously he knows that she saw Enzo. He knows what happened here. You can't hide anything from the devil, and that makes perfect sense, obviously. Why would you be able to hide something from the devil? The devil knows all your horrible secrets. The devil knows all the terrible things you've done, and that's something that Cade can, in fact, expose all of them for. He can do whatever he can to just, use them to his advantage and, basically just get them to feel guilty for all these sins that they've committed. And that's something that Cade has that a lot of the villains haven't, and I like that. I really do love that about Cade as a villain. Again, very menacing presence, and I'm really liking the actor who plays him. He's really doing a great job. So Dorian says he isn't okay, that he was sorry, because thinking about killing someone, actually doing it are two very different things. And yes, again, I agree with Dorian here, that yeah, he does want to kill Stefan, but at the same time, killing Stefan is just as bad as Stefan killing his family. It's still killing someone, and Stefan falls to the ground unconscious, and Caroline tells Dorian her blood cannot cure Stefan anymore. It's a very sad scene. I really do feel bad for Stefan in this scenario, and again, we know that Caroline can't bite Stefan because he's human. There's no possible way she can do that. He has the cure in him, and Cade that meets with him informs that his death is inevitable, and he needs to let go, and Stefan says he has too much to make up for, but Cade says he needs to let go for Caroline. He's destined for hell, but why should she be? He tells him that she will be able to have a mortal life without him, and Stefan admits that he's stubborn, he wants to live, and he awakens to Caroline saying that she loves him and everything will be okay. So it actually does seem like things are going well for Caroline and Stefan. He is slowly getting through to her. Things are starting to go okay for them, and I like the direction that's going. I was worried about them overall, but it seems like their absence, Stefan's absence in terms of, his, detour as being evil and things like that, it really has made this heart grow fonder, and it really seemed like these two are kind of coming back together, and I was very happy to see that here. So Damon then informs Kai that Cade knows he's there. Damon says he needs to atone himself to push him over the edge in the eyes of Cade, and Damon says people do forgive, and when they do, redemption is possible, and if he wants Damon's forgiveness, all he has to do is bring Elena back to life right now. Like, he means right this second. And Dorian then learns Caroline compelled the paramedics into believing Stefan was shot in a hunting accident. And Dorian feels he isn't any better than Stefan, but the feeling in his gut makes him a good person. He knows deep down that him and Stefan kind of are the same type of people. They've both committed very bad things. And Stefan wants Dorian to have all the files of the crimes he's done, and his fate is in his hands. He can either have him punished for them or look to the future and move on. And I really like that Stefan was able to do that. It was a very selfless decision that Stefan made. And Stefan's done a lot of selfless things that are really very dumb looking back in hindsight, and I think Stefan kind of knows that. He just hasn't really thought about a lot of them, but this really did make sense. I mean, obviously, Dorian's not going to kill him. This is as bad as if Dorian would kill him. I mean, he has every single record of anyone that Stefan has ever killed. Any sort of file, any sort of story, it's all in the hands of Dorian. He can do whatever he can to expose Stefan at some point, and I hope that Stefan doesn't mess this up, because right now it seems like Dorian is going to be, he's just going to keep it to himself and withholding the information. But if Stefan does anything bad, I mean, who knows this code? I don't want the show to end with Stefan arrested. I really don't. I think it'd be a really unsatisfying ending. I do think Stefan's going to die. I've said before, I think that's how the show's going to end, but I don't think it's going to be at the hands of Dorian. That just wouldn't really be satisfying in my opinion. So Caroline sees Stefan that he will fully recover, and Stefan says he doesn't blame him. He may have had the gun, but he pulled the trigger years ago to his family, and Caroline asks Stefan if he thinks he deserves hell. Stefan admits he doesn't know who he is anymore, because really he doesn't. I mean, 1 second he's good, 1 second he's bad. He just doesn't know anymore, and Caroline encourages him to discover the person he is now, and then he can help the people he hurt. He says that means leaving Mystic Falls alone, and Caroline's upset as she stood by him through everything and shouts that this has nothing to do with her. He needs to be a martyr to his past, is all for him, and he questions what future they can have, because he really doesn't know if he can give her what she wants at this point. He knows she wants the June wedding. He knows she wants them to be back together, and he also knows that she wants them to be the way they were, but he doesn't know if they can go back that way, and it's a genuinely, very sad conflict. I actually very much did feel bad for them. Like, you really do feel a lot of empathy for these two. And Caroline encouraged him to discover the person he is now, and that he can help the people he hurt. He says that means leaving. Oh, I just read this. So basically, that used to be exciting, and now it feels misguided. She leaves his hospital room, and obviously things are just not really great between them. So Bonnie's back in her room, surrounded by candles, saying if he can hear, she needs him, and she tells him to never leave her again. He says he doesn't want to. He says the only thing that matters is her, and they tenderly kiss and hold each other. So I don't really know where this whole Bonnie and Enzo thing is going. Obviously, she can't really have Enzo. I think if she, she wants to, but it's not safe. I mean, Cade's going to mess with her, and things are going to end up very bad for Bonnie if she ends up, continually partaking in with Enzo's corpse. It's just not going to be a good idea. But Caroline gets to see the twins. Both her and Alaric admit it's good to see each other. The twins begin to act out 3 days ago, and he can't control, nor can they. They're burning people and things like that. But Damon then brings Kai to Elena's coffin. And then we get to the ending here where he grabs Damon, saying he knows that there's no such thing as redemption. Kai says he's going out. He's going out with a bang. Damon drops to the floor, all gray. Kai vanished with a dagger. And Elena's coffin, he is going to bring Elena back, but not without Damon. And Damon seems to have died. And that is the way this episode ends. Very interesting stuff overall. Let's get into this episode and where I think we're going to go. So, great stuff overall, I have to say. Like I said, they're really doing a good job of keeping things interesting this season, which I'm very happy to see. But let's first talk about this ending here, because obviously, Damon's not dead. I mean, we saw him in the promo for the next episode, even if Kai wants to believe that, he's not. But we saw him go gray, and we saw Damon, presumably die, so I don't really know how this makes any sense, how Damon's gonna live from this. I have no idea. If, he still has that immortality in him. I mean, Sybil's not there anymore, so he could very well die, but maybe he has the immortality. I honestly don't know. I don't understand how any of that makes sense, but again, we'll have to see where that goes. I really do love where we're going with Kai, though, because Kai clearly is going to bring Elena back. He's just not going to do it in the way Damon wants him to. He's going to bring her back, but without Damon there. And obviously, Elena's going to be very confused as to what's going on. And definitely Elena is going to wake up at some point. We already saw the promo. She is going to be there in episode 16 in some capacity. So I don't know how that's going to go. But as far as Kai, I don't think Kai is going to get essentially exactly what he wants. I think Kai wants to believe that by killing Cade, he'll have all the power and he'll be able to, walk a free man. But that's not, I think, what's going to happen here. I think both Kai and Cade are going to die by killing each other. I think they're going to fight and they're both going to die, and I think that's just how it's going to go, and I think Kai's really going to get the short end of the stick there, where he's going to feel very dumbfounded that he felt that he was going to win, because I think this really is both of their losing battles. I think as much as he wants to believe that he can take down Cade, I think he can't really take down Cade. Cade is ostensibly stronger than him. Kai is definitely strong, but Cade is ostensibly stronger. He is the devil, and as much as Kai wants to believe that he's the devil, he can't take down the devil. That's just how it is, and I'm interested in seeing really where that's going to go. As far as Bonnie, I have no idea where we're going with this plot at this point with Bonnie and Enzo. Obviously, Cade is just going to use this against her. Any sort of, sin she commits or any sort of wrongdoing, any sort of lie, Cade will find out about. And that's something that obviously is not going to work out for Bonnie's advantage. So I really don't know why she is doing this with Enzo. It's a really dumb idea. Bonnie really needs to think about this. But like Damon said, she's very, very persistent and she doesn't stop. She is always she's not a quitter. She always does as much as she can to get things done and bring back Enzo, which this is not the way to do it if she wants to do that. I don't know what's going to happen there. I want these two to end up together. I really do. I want to believe there's a version of the show where Bonnie and Enzo end up together because they've done such a great job creating that relationship. But at the same time, I'm really not interested in seeing Bonnie, partake in these evil doings with Enzo, to then probably be sacrificed by Cade. I just don't want to see that happen, but we'll have to see where that's going to go. Maybe they're not going that direction, but at least that's where I'm seeing they're going. Caroline and Stefan is very complicated right now because on one hand, you can see that Caroline is forgiving Stefan and is ready to move on. Stefan doesn't want to forgive himself, though. He knows all the terrible things he's done, and he's really struggling with who he really is. After doing all these terrible things, he's realizing that some of them he didn't just do when he was a Ripper. He did do some of them when he was human, and every bad thing that he's, not when he's human, when he had his humanity on. There are things that he's done that he very much does regret, and he doesn't know if he can take all those things back, and it's very sad to see. I really do feel bad for Stefan here. Again, it's one of the best arcs Stefan has had in a very long time. I like the direction they're really going with him here, and Paul Wesley's doing a very good job with channeling those regrets and just channeling that turmoil that Stefan is really, he's really got himself in he's really got himself into a huge problem, and I'm interested in seeing where that's going to go. As far as Dorian, I like the tension between Dorian and Stefan throughout this episode. I thought it was definitely very well handled where they went there. Matt didn't really have a role here. Again, he's kind of back to just being the one who's there and helping out Caroline, which I did like seeing Caroline help Stefan, compel people. But again, I don't know if this is really going to work out. We'll have to see where that's going to go. There is one major flaw where, again, we never really saw this happen with Catherine or with Elena, but I'm not going to complain because, again, they kept it interesting. I was happy to see that. My only real complaint with this episode, like I said, I don't know where the Bonnie storyline's going. I'm not a huge fan of it right now. I like where they're going with her and Enzo. I like that, but I just don't know if this is really the smartest thing for her to do. It does seem slightly out of character that Bonnie would agree to, work with it, still find a way to get to Enzo, even though Kate told her not to, and even though she knows that Kate is things are just going to end up worse for Enzo, even though Enzo specifically told her not to, and not to let Kate win, she's still, for some reason, going to him. I just don't really know that's going to go. We'll have to see. And then the whole thing with Lizzie and Josie, I don't really know if I care about this. Again, if they were compelled to forget about Sybil, why in the world do they still have these powers? That makes no sense to me whatsoever. It feels very, very off, and it feels like it was just there to give the kids some more relevance in the story, which we really don't need. At this point, though, guys, the Vampire Diaries is on a high streak. I'm really loving where this show is going. I like that Kai's back. I like that what we're going with Elena. Like I said, she's becoming more in the forefront, and I'm really loving that we only have 3 episodes left. It's crazy, but yes, we only do have 3 episodes left of the show, and there's so many places they can go within those 3 episodes, and I really do hope they deliver as these last few episodes have been. I am overall going to give The Vampire Diaries Season 8, Episode 13, The Lies Will Catch Up to You, a 4.5 out of 5, or an A-. So guys, that's it for this episode of The Vampire Diaries. Guys, I am officially caught up. I know that's taken me a long time, but I've officially caught up to the show. I'm very happy to see that. I will definitely be reviewing the last 3 episodes individually. Don't worry, I'm going to try not to get behind again. But that's my review. Hope you guys enjoy it. We'll see you guys in my next one, which will be for a movie review, and we'll see you guys for that. Okay, bye.